Today we're going to talk about how to reverse hair loss. And I'm also going to get into the #1 best meal if you want to grow your hair. The most common cause of hair loss is androgenic, and I'm going to explain what that is. But that involves a pattern baldness, where if it's a man, they're going to actually lose their hair on the top right here. In a female, it's more thinning hair through here. How could someone possibly grow hair on their chin, but then lose the hair up here? In fact, I have a perfect example of this right here. If I take this gentleman right here, you can see, oh, let's just take this off right here. He has all this hair right through here and right there, but nothing right here. Today, we're going to answer why that is. So let's just build a little foundation. This is one of your hairs right through here. We have the scalp right here. And around the hair, there's something called a follicle. What is a follicle? Follicle is not the hair. It's a little environment around the hair that has a tiny factory that helps the hair grow. And what's very unique about this follicle is it requires a tremendous amount of oxygen and also the energy factories that come along with it, which is mitochondria. But now let's get into probably one of the most overlooked therapies for hair loss. Question is, can we just lower insulin resistance? Or can we just give you a natural enzyme inhibitor and mimic the effects of drugs, but without the side effect? And the answer is probably not. There's something way more important, and it has to do with that follicle I talked about. What you need to fix is the follicle environment, the entire environment. Because what they can do now is they can transplant hair on the back of your head to the top, or from other places in your body on the top of your head. But they only can do it if they transplant the follicle, not the hair itself, but the actual thing that the hair comes in. It's kind of like the soil that allows the root to grow. It's an entire ecosystem. It's an environment that you have to look at. And excessive DHT does start this cascade going, but then what happens is a whole bunch of things. You have decreased oxygen, and then we have this condition without oxygen. It's called hypoxia, and that can actually create inflammation. So now we have this entire ecosystem that's inflamed that then develops a reparative process in scar tissue, and then it becomes very shiny and you're bald. One of the most overlooked therapies that is very effective is #4, mechanical stimulation of your scalp. Because what you have to do is you have to wake up these stem cells. You have to break down the scar tissue. And there's many different methods of doing this. A lot of people do like invasive massage on their scalp, but the one that really is the most effective is microneedling. Microneedling is very similar to what I did in one of my pastures in part of my farm. I had to kind of break up the soil so then water can get in there, oxygen can get in there, the seed can go in there. Microneedling allows you to open up the scalp so it gets oxygen, so it can start to repair, so we stimulate the repair process, so we can reactivate the stem cells into the tissues. At the cellular level, okay, deep in the follicle, you have mitochondria. But the problem is those mitochondria are kind of broken down and they're not working anymore. So we have to stimulate the mitochondria. Partly it's going to be the microneedling, but partly it's going to be another therapy, and that's called red or near infrared light therapy. This is some really cool stuff that has some massive research behind it, because when you throw a light with this spectrum between 630 and 850 nms, which is a wavelength, into your scalp, you are basically going to help restore the mitochondria. And they're also doing therapies right now with red light therapy for your eyes to improve eyesight because it stimulates more mitochondria. And what we're trying to do from this mitochondria is get more energy out of the mitochondria. So now we have the energy to grow hair. A lot of the medications for hair loss inhibit that enzyme I talked about to decrease DHT, except for Rogaine, which is a very common medication. Rogaine does not work by blocking DHT. Rogaine works by creating a vasodilation or more circulation, because in order to grow that hair, you need oxygen in your scalp. Out of all the things that can mimic Rogaine, or at least get somewhat close to it, rosemary oil is at the top of the list. The phytonutrients in rosemary oil greatly improve circulation. They also decrease that DHT, they reduce inflammation, and they help protect the mitochondria. So we're adding layers to this problem, and we're compounding the effectiveness so we can really get your hair back. Now, if you just did #4, 5, and 6, I still think it wouldn't work unless you also fix the original reason why the hair fell out in the first place, which involves 1, 2, 3. So we cannot forget to also correct insulin resistance. We must correct this. There's some really key nutrients that can help speed up the growth of the hair. That's zinc and vitamin D. These two nutrients, hands down, are the two most important things to stimulate the stem cells or stimulate the growth factors of that hair. And I would recommend taking no less than 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 every day. As far as zinc, I would recommend something like 30 or 40 milligrams. And then #3 are additional inhibitors of that enzyme. If you wanted to add some more things, I'm not suggesting you do that, but I'm just going to tell you all the things that act as the natural 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. So maybe you've heard of saw palmetto, that's a common one. Pumpkin seed oil, the phytonutrient in green tea, EG, CG. Peppermint oil is a powerful one. And I've already mentioned zinc. So I'll put some links down below. But I also wanted to give you an idea of probably one of the best meals that you could consume to support your hair from a nutrient standpoint. And that would be liver, number one, okay? And of course, onions, number two, because you really don't want to eat liver without onions. They kind of come together. But what's in liver that supports your hair is a very bioavailable iron called heme iron, which the hair needs. Liver also has zinc and copper and other trace minerals like selenium. And then, of course, onions. Onions are super high in quercetin, which is a very powerful anti-inflammatory. And then we have sauerkraut. Why sauerkraut? Sauerkraut not only helps fortify the gut, but sauerkraut has like literally the most vitamin C out of anything. It's like 700 milligrams per half of a cup. Sauerkraut has over 600 different phytonutrients, which help the hair in many different ways, including decreasing the DHT. And lastly, we can't forget pumpkin seeds, because not only can pumpkin seed give you enough magnesium and trace minerals, pumpkin seeds and pumpkin seed oil also act as a pretty powerful 5-alpha reductase inhibitor to help lower that DHT. However, at the foundation of this problem, we still have insulin resistance. This is probably what started the whole problem in the first place.